The alarms blared as the medical bay doors slid open, revealing a frantic alien medical team rushing a bloodied human on a hovering stretcher. The human, despite having a gaping wound across his shoulder and chest, seemed oddly calm compared to the panicked six-limbed doctors surrounding him. "Get him to Bay 3 immediately," shouted Dr. Zelnar, the lead physician at the interstellar medical station orbiting Jupiter. His pale blue skin was flushed with a darker hue, a clear sign of stress in Arcturians. His third eye dilated with concern as he scanned the human's vitals displayed on the holographic monitor floating above the stretcher. "What happened?" Dr. Zelnar demanded, four of his arms working in perfect coordination to prepare medical instruments while his primary arms guided the stretcher. The human Ryan Young, according to his Federation ID, winced as the movement jostled his wound. "Mining accident on Europa. Support beam collapsed. Nothing too bad." The medical team exchanged bewildered glances. "Nothing too bad." The human had a laceration that would have killed most species, yet he spoke as if describing a minor inconvenience. "Get the vital scanner ready," Dr. Zelnar ordered as they transferred Ryan to the examination table. "And someone contact Dr. Mazira. She has the most experience with humans." Ryan tried to sit up, but was gently restrained by one of Dr. Zelnar's assistants, a Phalorian with translucent skin that revealed her pulsing organs. "Sir, please remain still," she said. "We need to assess your injuries." "Really, it's just a scratch," Ryan insisted, though his face was pale and beaded with sweat. "Just need some stitches and I'll be back at work by tomorrow." Dr. Zelnar snorted through his nostril slits. "A scratch? Your exoskeleton, I mean, your skin has been breached severely. There is significant blood loss and potential internal organ damage." The medical scanner hummed to life, creating a three-dimensional image of Ryan's body in the air above him. Red indicators flashed around his shoulder and chest, but what caught Dr. Zelnar's attention was the reading at the bottom of the display. "This can't be right," he muttered, tapping the holographic numbers with one of his slender fingers. "Run the cardiac diagnostic again." The assistant complied, and the same numbers appeared. Dr. Zelnar's skin turned almost navy with alarm. "Your blood pressure is 120/80, and your heart rate is nearly 75 beats per minute." Ryan stared at him blankly. "Yeah, that's normal for humans." "Normal." Dr. Zelnar's voice rose to a pitch that made the glass vials on a nearby shelf vibrate. His third eye widened to almost twice its usual size. "That kind of pressure would rupture the circulatory system of any reasonable species." Before Ryan could respond, the doors slid open again, and Dr. Mazira entered. A centaurian with dark purple skin and bioluminescent spots along her temples, she was one of the few doctors in the station specifically trained in human physiology. "I came as soon as I heard," she said, her glowing spots pulsing with each word. "What do we have, doctor?" Zelnar gestured frantically at the monitor. "This human claims that a blood pressure of 120/80 is normal, and look at this laceration, he called it a scratch." Dr. Mazira glanced at the readings, then at Ryan's wound. "The blood pressure is indeed normal for humans, Dr. Zelnar. As for the wound, it's serious but not life-threatening with proper treatment." Ryan gave a weak thumbs up. "See, told you." Dr. Zelnar's multiple limbs gestured in agitation, but the pressure, the circulatory system would be under enormous strain. "How do humans function without their blood vessels exploding?" Dr. Mazira began preparing a dermal regenerator. "Human blood vessels are remarkably elastic and durable. Their cardiovascular system evolved to handle such pressures." Ryan winced as Dr. Mazira cleaned his wound. "I should probably mention that when I'm exercising, my blood pressure goes even higher." Dr. Zelnar made a choking sound. "Higher? How are you not dead? Human physiology is quite fascinating," Dr. Mazira said calmly as she worked. "Their bodies are designed to withstand considerable physical stress." As they continued treating Ryan's wound, Dr. Zelnar couldn't stop staring at the vital signs. The human's blood was being pumped through his body with a force that would be catastrophic for most species in the Federation. And yet there he was, making jokes about getting back to work tomorrow. How long have you been stationed on Europa, Mr. Young? Dr. Mazira asked as she applied the regenerator to the wound. About 6 months, Ryan replied, grimacing slightly at the tingling sensation of accelerated healing. I'm part of the deep core drilling team. Dr. Zelnar, still fixated on the vitals, interrupted. And your heart has been beating at this pressure the entire time, day and night. Ryan chuckled, then immediately regretted it as pain shot through his chest. Yeah, pretty much. Though it slows down when I sleep. Fascinating, Dr. Zelnar murmured. Despite his initial panic, his scientific curiosity was taking over. And your species evolved this way naturally, no genetic engineering, not that I know of, Ryan said. Just good old natural selection on Earth, Doctor. Mazira finished sealing the worst of the wound. He'll need to stay overnight for observation and further regeneration treatments. The laceration was deep, and we need to ensure there's no infection. Dr. Zelnar nodded, still staring at the vital signs with a mixture of horror and fascination. I want to run some additional tests with your permission, he said to Ryan. Nothing invasive, just some detailed scans of your cardiovascular system. Ryan shrugged his good shoulder. Knock yourself out, Doc. Not literally, though I heard Arcturians faint pretty easily. Doctor. Zelnar's skin flushed again, this time with embarrassment. It was true that Arcturians had a tendency to lose consciousness when stressed, an evolutionary response to conserve energy during danger. Very well, Dr. Zelnar said, ignoring the jibe. We'll begin after you've had some rest. As the medical team finished stabilizing Ryan and prepared him for transfer to a recovery room, Dr. Zelnar pulled Dr. Mazira aside. Have you ever seen anything like this? He whispered, gesturing toward the human. Dr. Mazira's bioluminescent spots pulsed thoughtfully. Humans are remarkable creatures. Their bodies are paradoxical, fragile in some ways, incredibly resilient in others. But that blood pressure, Dr. Zelnar insisted, it defies everything I know about sustainable circulatory systems. That's why xenomedicine is so fascinating, Dr. Mazira replied. Each species is a universe unto itself. What's lethal for one is normal for another. Dr. Zelnar watched as Ryan was wheeled away, chatting casually with the nurse despite his serious injury. I need to learn more about humans, he decided. They're more alien than I thought. Little did he know, this encounter was just the beginning of his education about the bizarre species called humans. The next morning, Dr. Zelnar arrived early at Ryan's recovery room, carrying a portable scanning device and a data pad. He found the human sitting up in bed, watching a holographic stream of an Earth sport involving people on skates hitting each other. Good morning, Mr. Young, Dr. Zelnar said, his third eye focusing on the human's wound, which had already begun to knit together nicely. How are you feeling? Ryan turned off the hockey game and grinned. Much better, thanks. Your regenerator things work great. When can I get back to work? Dr. Zelnar blinked all 3 eyes in succession, a sign of disbelief among Arcturians. Back to work. You suffered a major trauma less than 24 hours ago. Your body needs time to heal completely. I feel fine, Ryan insisted, demonstrating by rotating his injured shoulder with only a slight wince. A bit sore, but nothing serious. Remarkable, Dr. Zelnar murmured, checking the vital signs on the monitor. Still 120/80, still utterly alarming to his Arcturian sensibilities. I'd like to run some additional scans if you don't mind. Your cardiovascular system is quite intriguing, Ryan shrugged. Sure, go ahead. Not like I've got anywhere to be if you won't let me leave, Doctor. Zelnar set up the scanner, which projected a detailed 3-dimensional image of Ryan's heart and blood vessels. The human's heart pumped steadily, forcing blood through his arteries with what seemed to the doctor like terrifying pressure. Fascinating, Doctor. Zelnar said, manipulating the image with his secondary hands while taking notes with his primary ones. Your aorta is tremendously elastic, and the musculature of your heart ventricles is incredibly powerful. Ryan watched with mild interest. Never really thought about it before. It's just how we're built. Tell me, Dr. Zelnar said, adjusting the scanner to focus on smaller blood vessels. Do humans ever suffer from complications due to this high pressure? Oh sure, Ryan replied casually. Hypertension, heart attacks, strokes. Pretty common back on Earth, especially with bad diets and sedentary lifestyles. Dr. Zellner nearly dropped his data pad. You mean your normal pressure causes these problems? What happens during hypertension? Blood pressure goes up even higher, like 140/90 or worse. Doctor. Zellner's skin paled to an almost white shade. And your vessels don't immediately rupture, Ryan laughed. Not usually. Some people walk around with high blood pressure for years before it causes problems. The doctor stared at him in disbelief. Your species is even more bizarre than I realized. As Dr. Zellner continued his examination, other members of the medical staff drifted into the room, curious about the human patient. Word had spread about the strange creature with the impossibly high blood pressure who survived what should have been a catastrophic injury. A Trelaxian intern with iridescent scales and no visible eyes approached timidly. Is it true humans can regenerate limbs? She asked Ryan. Ryan snorted. No, that's not true at all. If I lose an arm, it's gone for good. But I heard humans can regrow their liver if part of it is removed, said another doctor, a bulbous Galatian with translucent skin. Well, yeah, the liver can regenerate to some extent, Ryan admitted, but that's just one organ. Dr. Zellner, still focused on the cardiovascular scan, looked up. What about your skeletal repair capabilities? I've heard humans can recover from broken bones. Yeah, bones knit back together if set properly, Ryan said. Takes a few weeks though, longer for bad breaks. The medical staff exchanged amazed glances. For many species, a broken bone was a permanent disability. And is it true, asked the Trelaxian intern, her voice dropping to an awed whisper, that humans willingly ingest ethanol as a recreational activity? Ryan grinned. Hell yeah. Beer, wine, whiskey, we've been drinking alcohol for thousands of years. Dr. Zellner's third eye widened. But ethanol is a neurotoxin, sure, in large quantities, Ryan agreed. That's kind of the point though, the buzz feels good. The gathered medical professionals stared at him in horrified fascination. Deliberately ingesting toxins for pleasure. What kind of death-defying species were these humans? I think we're getting off track, Doctor. Mazira said, entering the room and dispersing the growing crowd of curious medical staff. Mr. Young needs rest, not an interrogation about human peculiarities. Dr. Zellner reluctantly shut down his scanner. Of course, you're right, but the data I've collected is extraordinary. With your permission, Mr. Young, I'd like to continue these studies during your stay. No problem, Ryan said. But seriously, how long until I can get back to work? The Europa drilling project is behind schedule as it is. Dr. Mazira checked his wound. The regeneration is proceeding well, but I'd recommend at least 3 more days of treatment before you return to light duty. No heavy lifting for at least 2 weeks, Ryan groaned. The foreman's going to kill me. Better than the support beam finishing the job, Dr. Mazira said dryly. I'll speak with your supervisor myself. After Dr. Mazira and the other staff left, Dr. Zellner lingered, still fascinated by the human's physiology. There's something I don't understand, he said finally. If your species evolved with such resilient bodies, why aren't humans the dominant species in the Federation? Why haven't you conquered the galaxy? Ryan looked surprised at the question. Who says we want to conquer anything? Most humans are pretty happy just exploring and trading. Besides, every species has their strengths. We might have sturdy cardiovascular systems, but we can't breathe methane like the Trelaxians or process radiation like the Novarians. Dr. Zellner considered this. A surprisingly philosophical perspective. Not really, Ryan said with a shrug. Just common sense. The universe is too big and too varied for any one species to dominate. We're all just trying to get by. As Dr. Zellner left Ryan to rest, his mind was racing with new questions about humans. They were walking contradictions, fragile yet resilient, cautious yet reckless, primitive in some ways and surprisingly advanced in others. He decided then that he would make humans his specialty. There was clearly much more to learn about these strange beings with their powerful hearts and inexplicable ability to consume toxins for fun. By the 3rd day of Ryan's stay at the medical station, Dr. Zellner had become completely obsessed with human physiology. He had spent hours researching human medical texts in the Federation database and conducting non-invasive tests on his willing patient. "You know," Ryan said, as Dr. Zelnar adjusted a neural scanner around his head, "most doctors back on Earth don't get this excited about basic human functions." Doctor. Zelnar's secondary hands were typing rapidly on a data pad while his primary ones positioned the scanner. "That's because they're human themselves. They take these extraordinary adaptations for granted." The neural scanner hummed to life, creating a colorful display of Ryan's brain activity. "Doctor." Zelnar stared at it with all three eyes wide open. "Remarkable. Your brain consumes nearly 20% of your body's oxygen, despite being only 2% of your body mass. The energy requirements alone should make such a system unsustainable." Ryan yawned. "If you say so, Doc." "All I know is it gives me a headache when I don't get enough coffee." Dr. Zelnar froze. "Coffee? You mean the plant-derived stimulant containing methylxanthine alkaloids?" Caffeine, yeah," Ryan confirmed. "Most humans drink it daily." Dr. Zelnar's skin paled again. "You regularly consume a substance that increases your already dangerous blood pressure and stimulates your central nervous system. Pretty much. Some people drink 5 or 6 cups a day." The doctor made a strangled sound. "And your hearts don't explode." "Just one heart, Doc," Ryan reminded him. "And no, it doesn't explode, though too much caffeine can make you jittery." Before Dr. Zelnar could process this new information, Dr. Mazira entered the room with Ryan's final treatment plan. "Good news, Mr. Young," she said. "Your wound has healed remarkably well. One more regenerator session today and you'll be cleared for release tomorrow morning." Ryan sat up straighter. "Great, so I can go back to work. Light duty only," Dr. Mazira emphasized. "No lifting anything heavier than 5 kilograms for another 10 days. Ryan nodded, though both doctors suspected he would ignore this restriction as soon as he was back on Europa. "Dr. Zelnar," Dr. Mazira continued, "the director would like to see you in her office at your earliest convenience." Something about an unusual number of test requisitions for a single patient. Dr. Zelnar's skin flushed with embarrassment. "Ah, yes, I may have been a bit thorough in my research." After Dr. Mazira left, Ryan looked at the flustered alien doctor with amusement. "Got yourself in trouble because of me, huh?" "Not trouble exactly," Dr. Zelnar said, disconnecting the neural scanner. "But resources on the station are carefully allocated. I may have exceeded my research quota for the month." Ryan laughed. "All this because you can't believe my blood pressure is normal." "It's not just that," Dr. Zelnar said, his third eye focusing intently on Ryan. "Humans are biological puzzles. You're fragile and robust simultaneously. You heal from injuries that would kill other species yet can die from consuming the wrong plant. Your environmental adaptability is unparalleled, yet you require very specific conditions to survive." "When you put it that way, we do sound pretty weird," Ryan admitted. "Doctor." Zelnar carefully packed away his equipment. "I have a proposal for you, Mr. Young. Would you be willing to participate in a more formal study of human physiology? Nothing dangerous or uncomfortable, just a series of tests and observations. The data could greatly improve medical care for humans throughout the Federation." Ryan considered the offer. "What's in it for me? Science for the benefit of all sentient beings isn't motivation enough, Doctor." Zelnar asked, blinking his third eye independently of the others, an Arcturian expression of surprise. "I'm a miner, not a philanthropist," Ryan replied with a grin, "but I might be persuaded for the right compensation." Dr. Zelnar thought quickly. "The Federation Medical Council provides stipends for research subjects, and participation would entitle you to premium healthcare coverage at any Federation facility." "Now you're talking," Ryan said. "Throw in a recommendation to my foreman about how I need regular medical checkups during work hours, and you've got yourself a deal." "That would be ethically questionable," Dr. Zelnar said slowly. Ryan raised an eyebrow. "So is using all those hospital resources without authorization, I bet." Dr. Zelnar's skin flushed again. "Very well. I will indicate that regular monitoring is advisable given your recent injury." They shook hands, Ryan's 5 fingers clasping Dr. Zelnar's 7-digited primary hand, and sealed the arrangement. The next morning, as Ryan prepared to return to Europa, Dr. Zelnar presented him with a small device. "This is a biometric monitor," the doctor explained. "It will record your vital signs continuously and transmit the data to my laboratory. It's waterproof and designed to withstand industrial environments." Ryan examined the sleek bracelet. "Doesn't look too annoying. How long do I wear it, ideally?" "Forever," Dr. Zelnar said, his third eye blinking rapidly with excitement. "But I would be satisfied with 6 months of continuous data." Ryan strapped the device to his wrist. 6 months it is. "But if it interferes with my work, it's coming off." "Understood," Dr. Zelnar agreed. "And remember, no heavy lifting for at least 10 more days." Ryan shouldered his bag, wincing slightly at the pull on his healing wound. Yeah, light duty, got it." As Ryan headed toward the shuttle bay, Dr. Zelnar called after him and tried to avoid collapsing support beams. Ryan turned and walked backward for a few steps, grinning. "No promises, Doc. Danger is part of the job, Doctor." Zelnar watched him go, marveling at the casual attitude toward risk that seemed intrinsic to humans. The monitor on his data pad was already receiving information from Ryan's device: heart rate 82 beats per minute, blood pressure 118/79, body temperature 37 degrees Celsius. All readings that would indicate severe medical distress in most species, yet perfectly normal for a human. The Arcturian doctor headed to his laboratory, his mind already formulating research questions and experimental designs. The universe was vast and full of biological diversity, but humans might be the most fascinating puzzle of all. Over the following weeks, Dr. Zelnar became increasingly absorbed in his study of human physiology. The data from Ryan's monitor provided continuous information about how a human body responded to the rigors of industrial work in the harsh environment of Europa. What amazed the doctor most was the adaptability of the human cardiovascular system. When Ryan exerted himself physically, his heart rate would climb to over 150 beats per minute, and his blood pressure would increase significantly, levels that would mean imminent death for an Arcturian. Yet, Ryan's body handled this stress routinely. Dr. Zelnar was reviewing these findings when his communication console chimed. It was Ryan, making his scheduled weekly check-in. "Hey, Doc," Ryan's face appeared on the screen, looking tired but healthy. "How's the mad science going?" "Fascinating, Doctor." Zelnar replied, his third eye focused on a data visualization beside the communication screen. "Your cardiovascular performance during your shift 3 days ago was particularly interesting. Your heart rate sustained at 165 beats per minute for nearly 20 minutes. What were you doing?" Ryan thought for a moment. "Oh, that was when we had to manually realign the drill shaft, had to hold it in position while the engineers locked it down. Pretty heavy." Dr. Zelnar's secondary hands typed notes rapidly. "And you experienced no distress, no pain or shortness of breath." "I was pretty winded and sore afterward," Ryan admitted, "but nothing serious, just a good workout." "Remarkable," Dr. Zelnar murmured. "The strain would have caused cardiac arrest in most species." Ryan laughed. "You're still hung up on that, huh? It's been weeks and you're still amazed by normal human stuff." "Because it isn't normal," Dr. Zelnar insisted, his skin flushing with excitement. "The more I study your physiology, the more extraordinary it seems. Did you know that human skin begins repairing itself within minutes of injury? Or that your liver can process toxins that would instantly kill most sentient beings? I guess we're tougher than we look," Ryan said with a shrug. "Listen, I wanted to ask you something. The monitor started beeping last night when I was having dinner. Everything okay, Doctor?" Zelnar quickly pulled up the relevant data. "Ah, yes. Your heart rate and blood pressure both spiked suddenly at approximately 20:45 station time. It triggered an automated alert. What were you doing exactly?" Ryan looked slightly embarrassed. I was having dinner with Melanie Teller, one of the geological survey team. We were just talking and well." "Ah," Dr. Zelnar said, his third eye narrowing in understanding. "A potential mating situation." "The physiological response makes perfect sense now." Ryan's face reddened. It wasn't like that, we were just talking. Your cardiovascular system suggests otherwise, Dr. Zellnar said, with what passed for an Arcturian smirk. Human attraction responses are quite clear in the data, Ryan groaned. Great, my doctor is spying on my love life through a wristband. Not spying, Dr. Zellnar corrected, observing for scientific purposes. The intersection of emotional states and physiological responses is a critical area of study. Yeah, well, keep those observations to yourself, Ryan muttered. Especially if Melanie ever ends up at your medical station, doctor. Zellnar made a gesture of agreement with his primary hands. Patient confidentiality is sacred in all Federation medical codes. Your romantic pursuits will remain private. After finishing the call with Ryan, Dr. Zellnar returned to his research. The human's casual acceptance of physiological states that would be medical emergencies for other species continued to fascinate him. The following day, Dr. Zellnar presented his preliminary findings to the Medical Research Council of the station. The conference room was filled with doctors and researchers from various species, all curious about the Arcturians' sudden obsession with human biology. As you can see from these readings, Dr. Zellnar explained, gesturing to the holographic display showing Ryan's vital signs during various activities. The human cardiovascular system operates under pressures that would be considered acute hypertensive crisis in most Federation species. Dr. Mazira, sitting in the front row, nodded in agreement. Human medical parameters have always been outliers in xenomedicine. Their normal body temperature alone would indicate severe fever in most species. A Novarian physician raised a tentacle. But surely this is old information. Humans have been part of the Federation for decades. True, Dr. Zellnar acknowledged, but most medical research has focused on treating human ailments, not understanding why their normal state would be fatal to others. I believe there are important insights to be gained by studying these differences. The discussion continued, with various specialists contributing observations about human physiology, their unusual endurance, their ability to survive significant blood loss, their remarkably efficient wound healing. The most intriguing aspect, Dr. Zellnar concluded, is that humans don't consider themselves particularly resilient. In fact, they view many other species as more physically impressive. That's because they lack certain capabilities that other species possess, Dr. Mazira pointed out. They can't regenerate limbs like Trilaxians or survive in vacuum like Novarians. Precisely, Dr. Zellnar said, his third eye widening with excitement. Each species has evolved different types of resilience. By understanding these variations, we might develop new medical approaches that cross species boundaries. The Council was impressed enough with his preliminary findings to approve expanded research funding. Dr. Zellnar would be able to recruit more human subjects and conduct more sophisticated studies. As the meeting adjourned, Dr. Mazira approached him. "You've become quite the human enthusiast," she observed. It's a far cry from your panic when Ryan Young first arrived with his alarmingly high blood pressure. Dr. Zellnar's skin flushed slightly. I've come to appreciate the fascinating contradictions of human physiology. They're simultaneously fragile and resilient in ways that defy conventional biological expectations. Just be careful not to become too fixated on one species, Dr. Mazira cautioned. The Federation contains multitudes. Humans are just one piece of a vast biological puzzle, Dr. Zellnar acknowledged her point with a gesture of his secondary hands. Of course, but they're a particularly interesting piece, wouldn't you agree? Before Dr. Mazira could respond, Dr. Zellnar's data pad emitted a sharp alert sound. He checked it quickly, his third eye dilating with concern. It's Ryan Young, he said, already moving toward the door. His vital signs have just entered truly abnormal parameters even for a human. 2 hours later, Dr. Zellnar stood in the emergency medical bay as a shuttle from Europa docked with the station. The medical team was ready with a hovering stretcher and emergency equipment. The shuttle doors opened, and paramedics rushed out with Ryan on a stretcher. His face was pale and covered in sweat, his breathing labored. The wound site from his previous injury was swollen and discolored. "What happened?" Dr. Zellner demanded as they transferred Ryan to the medical bay stretcher. One of the paramedics, a stocky Phalorian, responded, "Mining accident. Different from before, some kind of bacterial contamination in the ice layers. He was exposed during a drill breakthrough, Doctor." Zellner quickly examined the wound site, which was now surrounded by angry red streaks extending outward. Infection, and a severe one. He checked the vital sign monitor: blood pressure 90/60, heart rate 130, temperature 40 degrees Celsius. "Now these are truly abnormal readings for a human, Doctor." Zellner said grimly. "Hypotension, tachycardia, high fever, classic signs of septic shock." Ryan's eyes fluttered open. "Doc," he rasped, "guess I'm not so normal now, huh?" "Save your strength," Dr. Zellner said, already administering emergency medications through an injector. "We need to identify the pathogen and start targeted treatment immediately." Dr. Mazira joined them, quickly assessing Ryan's condition. "Take samples for analysis and start broad-spectrum antimicrobials. We can't wait for identification." As they worked to stabilize Ryan, Dr. Zellner couldn't help noticing the irony. After weeks of marveling at how humans could function with what seemed like dangerously high blood pressure, he was now fighting to raise Ryan's pressure back to those levels. "Hang in there, Ryan," Dr. Zellner said as they moved him to intensive care. "Your remarkable human resilience got you through last time. It will serve you well now, too." Ryan managed a weak smile before losing consciousness. The next 48 hours were critical. The pathogen analysis revealed a previously unknown bacterial strain that had been dormant in Europa's deep ice for potentially millions of years. It had evolved to survive in the harsh, cold environment of the moon, and had found Ryan's warm body to be an ideal breeding ground, Dr. Zellner hardly left the intensive care unit, monitoring Ryan's condition and adjusting treatments as the human's body fought the infection. The data from these critical hours would be invaluable for his research, but more importantly, he had come to genuinely care about his human subject. "His blood pressure is stabilizing," Dr. Zellner reported to Dr. Mazira during the third day. 120/80 has never looked so good to me." Dr. Mazira checked the latest pathogen counts. "The targeted antimicrobials are working. The bacterial load is decreasing significantly." Ryan remained unconscious, his body focused entirely on fighting the infection. The medical team had placed him in a controlled coma to reduce his system's stress and allow the treatments to work more effectively. On the fourth day, they began the process of bringing Ryan back to consciousness. Dr. Zellner watched anxiously as the human's brain activity increased, indicating his return to awareness. Finally, Ryan's eyes opened. He looked around groggily before focusing on Dr. Zellner. "Did someone get the license plate of the shuttle that hit me?" he mumbled. Dr. Zellner's skin brightened with relief. "Your humor function appears intact. That's a good sign." Ryan tried to sit up but was too weak. "What happened? Last thing I remember was being in the shuttle to the station." "You contracted a serious bacterial infection from the Europa drilling site, Dr. Zellner explained. "A previously unknown pathogen. You've been in critical condition for 4 days." Ryan's eyes widened. 4 days, that's not good." "On the contrary," Dr. Zellner said, checking the vital signs monitor with satisfaction. "Your recovery is proceeding remarkably well for someone who was in septic shock. Your blood pressure is back to your species' alarmingly high normal range." Ryan managed a weak laugh. "Still hung up on that, huh? I've come to appreciate it," Dr. Zellner admitted. "In fact, we were quite concerned when your pressure dropped to what would be normal for my species. It seems your circulatory system requires that high pressure to function optimally." Over the next week, Ryan's condition improved steadily. The infection was completely eradicated, and his strength began to return. Dr. Zellner continued to monitor his recovery closely, fascinated by the human body's ability to bounce back from such a severe illness. "The research data from your illness is extraordinary, Dr. Zellner told Ryan as he helped him walk around the medical bay as part of his rehabilitation. "Your immune response, once it identified the pathogen, was remarkably aggressive. Ryan, still weak but improving daily, managed a few steps with Dr. Zellnar's support. "Glad my suffering advanced science," he said dryly. "It's done more than that," Dr. Zellnar said. "The pathogen you encountered has been classified as extremely dangerous. The Europa drilling project has been temporarily halted while containment protocols are established. You potentially saved many lives by being the first one exposed." "Lucky me," Ryan muttered, but there was a hint of pride in his voice. After 2 weeks of recovery, Ryan was finally cleared to leave the medical bay, though not yet to return to work. He would remain on the station for another week of observation, before being allowed to return to light duty on Europa, assuming the drilling project resumed by then. On his last day under Dr. Zellnar's direct care, Ryan sat on the edge of his bed as the doctor performed a final examination. "Blood pressure 120/78, heart rate 72, temperature 37 degrees Celsius, Dr. Zellnar announced, reading the vital signs with satisfaction. "Perfectly abnormal by Arcturian standards," Ryan grinned, "and perfectly normal for a human, indeed, doctor." Zellnar agreed, his third eye focusing warmly on his patient. "I've learned a great deal about perspective during your treatment. What seems dangerous and extreme in one context can be perfectly healthy in another." "That's deep, Doc," Ryan said. "You should write a book or something." "Actually, I am preparing a comprehensive research paper on human cardiovascular adaptations," Dr. Zellnar said. "With you as my primary case study if you consent," Ryan shrugged. "Sure, why not? Just don't use my name. I don't want to be known across the galaxy as the guy with the scary blood pressure." Dr. Zellnar made a gesture of agreement with his secondary hands. "Patient confidentiality will be maintained. Though I must say, your particular cardiovascular system has become something of a celebrity among the medical staff here." As Ryan prepared to leave the medical bay for his temporary quarters on the station, he paused at the door. "You know, when I first met you, I thought you were overreacting about my vital signs, but now I get it. It must be weird to treat a species that's so different from your own." Dr. Zellnar's skin shifted to a thoughtful shade of blue. "The true wonder of the universe is its diversity. What works for one species would destroy another. It's a lesson in both medicine and philosophy." Ryan nodded. "Well, thanks for saving my life, twice." "Thank your remarkably resilient human body," Dr. Zellnar replied. "I merely assisted it in doing what it evolved to do," as Ryan left Dr. Zellnar returned to his laboratory, where the data from Ryan's biometric monitor over the past weeks filled multiple screens. From the initial readings that had so alarmed him to the dangerous drop during infection and the triumphant return to human normal, the data told a story of an extraordinary biological system that defied conventional expectations. Dr. Zellnar began composing his research paper, starting with a title that reflected his journey of discovery: "Pressure Perspectives, Redefining Cardiovascular Norms in Interspecies Medicine." He paused, his third eye focusing on the first line he had written. "When the human said that's my normal, it changed everything I thought I knew about physiology." 1 month later, Ryan was back on Europa, working limited shifts as the drilling project cautiously resumed with new safety protocols. He still wore Dr. Zellnar's monitoring device, providing ongoing data for the doctor's expanded research program. Dr. Zellnar's preliminary paper on human cardiovascular adaptations had caused a sensation in Federation medical circles, challenging long-held assumptions about what constituted normal physiological parameters across species. As for Ryan, he found himself something of a celebrity among the Europa mining crew, the man who survived not only a structural collapse, but also an ancient bacterial infection. The story of the alien doctor who panicked at his blood pressure had become a favorite tale in the mess hall. "To weird blood pressure," Ryan toasted one evening, raising a glass with Melanie Teller, the geologist he had been seeing regularly since his return. "And to doctors who learn that normal is relative," she replied, clinking her glass against his. "On the medical station orbiting Jupiter, Dr. Zelnar's monitor beeped as it registered Ryan's slightly elevated heart rate and blood pressure. The doctor smiled with all three eyes, recognizing the now familiar pattern of human attraction responses. Some things, it seemed, were normal across all species, even if the physiological details differed. And that, perhaps, was the most fascinating discovery of all.